gotta warn you up front. This might seem like a werewolf novel. In fact, I thought it was, and I almost didn't read it because I wasn't in the mood for a werewolf novel. And while I am reading this shirt, you guys need to know that while there are werewolf shenanigans, kinda, sorta, maybe, possibly, maybe not, it is not a werewolf novel. Okay, we're on the same page? Good, let's start the review. Hello everybody, E here. Welcome back to another book review. This is your horror review for the month. I'm going to try and sneak in at least 2 in December and maybe more in the future. Basically, whatever is going to get the views at this point, because the long form content is dying. The shorts are doing great. I'm getting 600 to 1,000 views. 300 to 1,000 views per short, while these jokers just kind of fizzle and pop and then go nowhere. I think at the most these long form videos get about 100 to 200 views and then nothing else. So all the hyping and sharing and all of the stuff that you guys can do, go ahead and do it, but I'm a person who looks toward the future, and it looks like this is dying. That's why I'm doing daily shorts, because that's just how this is turning out. Luckily, I am so far ahead that you guys are going to get 3 long form videos a month all the way up until January 2026 at this point. Anyways, today we are talking about When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. This book has been all over my Goodreads feed, and I wasn't really in the mood for a werewolf book because it's called When the Wolf Comes Home. It looks like it has a werewolf on the cover. This, as I said in the intro, this is not a werewolf book. You're not going to get the shape-shifting, the silver bullets. You're not going to get any of that stuff. But I also don't want to tell you what it is about. What it is about is so much more original and so much more fun. Fun. That's the key word here. Fun. Than it might seem. While it is fun, the emotional impact, the character development, all that stuff is chef's kiss. I loved everybody in this book, from the kid to Jess to Sanchez to Cookie. Loved Cookie. Tom, even though we don't actually meet him, you'll know all these characters when you get into it. The story is about a woman who's kind of she's an improvisational comedian. She does the improv, like Whose Line Is It Anyways kind of deal. Yes, and in fact, the second part of the book is called Yes and. I was a theater kid, so I know a little bit more about improvisational stuff than not more than you. Of course not. You know all of this stuff. I know. I'm sorry. I'm not smarter than you. I'm just another regular person just like you. That's a lie. I am so totally badass. Anyways, but this book really tugs on the heartstrings, and I want to emphasize this. If you are looking for just fun, you're going to get plenty of it here, but you're also going to get kicked in the feels, thunder kicked, the falcon punched right in the feels. Okay, this damn book made me cry twice. I was not ready for it. I was not prepared for it, especially not with the content that I was getting. I was getting high octane thriller, horror, amazing imagination. I was getting all this stuff, and then all of a sudden I started caring about these people, and I don't know when Nat Cassidy did it. I have no idea when he slipped in and he was like, "Hey, psst, psst, come here. You care about these people." I had no idea. It came out of nowhere. The kid's dad too. I'm bringing him up just because I didn't feel as much for him, but there was still a scene that just tore me to pieces with him. And this guy had no character development up until that point. But I think how Cassidy did it was he made me care so much about the kid. The kid does not have a name in the book. It's hard to explain once again, but the book starts off like a werewolf book. 100%. He leads you in, you get this false sense of knowing what you're in store for, and then everything is chucked out the window into the next, the next block. I have not had this much fun reading a horror novel in forever. It's been a long, long time. And when I say horror novel, a horror that is specifically, a novel that is specifically in the horror genre. Now, while it does have other elements, I would not call this anything like literary. This is a high octane thriller with horror, with gore and all that other stuff. It is not a sense of creeping dread. You're going to be disgusted. There's going to be gore splattered all over the walls. So y'all out there, people like Spooky Noodles, this is your book. You're going to love this, even though maybe it's not a full werewolf novel. You're still going to get what you're looking for. You're just not going to get the full werewolf experience. I'm going to stop harping on that and move on with the review. So Jess comes across this kid and ends up having to run off with him. It's also a road trip novel, which is, hell yeah. This checked every single one of my boxes for me. So she goes on the run with this kid from the kid's father. I don't think that's a spoiler. I think that's the whole setup for the book, because after that is when the book really starts getting going. It really gets going after that. But I don't know. Also, this is one of those reviews that's going to be entirely positive, because I have no notes. This is an absolutely perfect horror experience. And as of right now, I hope I'm not jumping the gun here. I hope I'm not putting my foot in my mouth, but it is one of my top 5 favorite horror novels of all time. That's horror novels. Not novels of all time. Just the spooky, scary, gory stuff, okay? That's very important here. If I were going to put this anywhere else on a list, it would be like top 50. If you're new to the channel and you don't know me, I care much more about literary fiction and literary horror and those kinds of things, because like I said, I think I'm smarter than you. So I don't read a lot of horror anymore for that reason. I started off as a huge Richard Lehman fan, Bentley Little, Jack Ketchum, Graham Masterton, those guys. I also love Stephen King. I also used to love Dean Koontz. This is a very Dean Koontz story without the cliched Dean Koontz writing, okay? You don't have the quirky, asinine characters that Dean Koontz has come to employ in his novels. Nat Cassidy has a great eye for character development. Like I said, half the time I didn't even know he was developing characters. And it's amazing. Now, I have to say something here. Nat Cassidy, if you come across this, please don't take offense to this. If you do, you do. It has nothing to do with you. But you thank Daniel Kraus. You mentioned Daniel Kraus's Whale Fall in your afterword. I know you just read it around the time you wrote this, but this is like putting a Big Mac up against a T-bone steak, at least in my opinion. Are there people out there that prefer the Big Mac? Yes. Are there people out there that mostly going to prefer the T-bone steak? Of course. But what I'm getting at is, you are the T-bone steak, and Whale Fall is 100% the Big Mac. It is made for public consumption. It is built solely to be sellable. Your book, I feel, is the exact opposite. While it is popular and will sell, I hope you just sell a billion gajillion copies, brother. I hope you become absolutely ridiculously famous to where you're wiping your ass with $100 bills. I hope that happens for you. I really do, because you are amazing. But the character development in here, even though the setup was the same as far as like the father trauma from Whale Fall and the father trauma in your book, When the Wolf Comes Home, there is no equating the two, because in Whale Fall, I couldn't have given a single solitary fuck. In this one, I was invested. Okay, now that I've said that, I want to say one more thing. I just happened to grab this on Audible because I saw it literally everywhere on my feed. And you guys know I don't buy into the hype and do that kind of thing, but I came across a review that said, this is not a werewolf book. And I'm kind of biting they style right now. This is not a werewolf book. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, my interest, it do be piqued. So I grabbed it on Audible because I had a code I had to use. And everybody was like, definitely do the audiobook. I know why people are telling people to do the audiobook, because your performance, Nat, if you watch this, I have a feeling you might come across it, because you talk about how much you respect and appreciate reviewers and all that stuff. Hi, I'm E, by the way. If you do come across this, your reading of the afterword, and I believe you also read the letter from Tom, the unfinished letter, you do great audiobook. You give amazing voice. But the lady that narrated this book, I'm sorry, I should have checked. The person who narrated this book did an absolutely fantastic job. But one of the parts that made me cry the hardest was, how do you protect? And if you have not read the book, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but hopefully you have the same emotional punch that I received when I listened to that part. It absolutely destroyed me. I'm a father of 2, and my father was a complete and utter jerkwad. He wasn't a good guy whatsoever. So I constantly worry about what I've passed on to my children. You know, what kind of mental deficiencies, what kind of autism, ADHD, any of those things that I have going on. My seasonal depression, which you say you have also. I'm constantly worried about what I have passed on from them, and seeing those things in them is terrifying. So yes, how do you protect them from you, the father, the parent? How do you protect them from that when it's in their genetic code? That part really hit home for me. And if you're watching this, once again, at Cassidy, if you're watching this, man, solidarity, brother. And I mean that with my entire heart. I may have crapped on your friend's book, but I promise, it's from the heart. That part really, really got me. And of course, the ending. This is a horror novel through and through. I just need to say it's very much Pet Sematary. Very much Pet Sematary, okay? I'm just going to leave it with that. Also, Nat Cassidy is a fan of Stephen King's It, and this book shares just a modicum of DNA with that book, where in so much as it is about fear. Again, I don't want to tell you too much more. I don't even want you guys to go out and read the description. What I want you to do is just go and buy the fucking book, because you are going to have the time of your life. Even if you're not an emotional wreck like I was by the end of it, you are going to have fun, because Nat Cassidy, oh praise Jesus, he commits. He commits to the fuckery on the page. He just absolutely commits. And the only way a story like this works is that the author commits to the bit. That's the only way this works. Because you can't get highly literary with an idea like this. You can't be like, oh, open ending because I'm Paul Tremblay. You know, you can't be like that with a story like this. And I'm so glad that you understand this. And I just shit on another one of your friends, or at least a person who blurbed the book. But it's kind of my thing. I'm brutally honest, and here you are with some brutal honesty. You are absolutely amazing. And this whole video has turned into a kind of love letter to a person that's probably might not ever watch the video. But if you do, I'm an instant fan. Nestlings. Up next, I'm getting the audiobook next month, unless Mary piques my interest more. I haven't really looked into Mary, but there are people who are saying that Mary is better than Nestlings. So I don't know. I'm going to grab one of them, and of course I will review it. But goddamn, this book is fantastic. And I was so worried that I was making this book walk uphill to school both ways in the snow after having read it after King Sorrow, and that wasn't the case at all. Cassidy didn't have any shoes to fill because he cobbled them himself. This is an absolutely amazing accomplishment of the imagination, and I am here for everything you do, good sir. But I need to know from my people. I'm going to talk to them for a second. Nat, you can go on about your business now. But if you read When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy, let me know what you thought of it down there in the doobly-doo. Because especially if you didn't like it. Because I need to know something about you. And that's what I need to know. Do you like this book? Can we stay friends? Anyways, but until next time, I have been you have been you. This has been another book review. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye!